It's the sound of the ComEd Energy Efficiency Program, saving you money and energy. With rebates on Energy Star appliances, so you can come back to a home full of savings. Discover more ways to save at ComEd.com/home savings. ComEd, powering lives.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew.
Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Good Tuesday morning, progressives. Yes, get those chins up and shoulders back. Welcome to the December 2nd, 2025 edition of Choose Views, 773-763-9278. Find my show on Facebook Live, TuneIn Radio, heartlandsignal.com, and, of course, YouTube. You can email me at richard@wcpt820.com. And then if you decide that you have nothing to do and you want to follow, you can follow me on X, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Blue Sky, Spoutable, Substack, and Threads. And I post stuff. I'm not I like my posts. I think they're pretty decent. So anyhow, catch all of our shows by subscribing to our WCPT podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon. We're out there. And then when you do that, you can get your Choose Views featured interviews, which you've heard us say, short versions and long versions. Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive. Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez. It's The Democracy, Stupid, with Edwin Eisendrath. Out Chicago and our other shows and interviews. Great stuff there. Make your way over to heartlandsignal.com, our digital platform. A couple of articles that you might enjoy. Opinion piece, How to Fix the 2028 Democratic Primary with Ranked Choice Voting is viewed by many as not the answer. And how one nonprofit kept over 236,000 families afloat when SNAP benefits disappeared. These are two great articles, and an opinion piece, an article that are there, and a great interview that Joan had with Joyce White Vance from Sisters-in-Law, and Iowa State Senator Caitlin Dray, who you guys remember we interviewed a little over a week ago about teachers, how teachers can solve the affordability crisis. So two really solid clips that you can grab, and two great articles that you'll want to read and pass along. So there you go. Today's show, we are excited to have some fun today. Different things happening. We're going to be busy. Dante King, author, historian, professor, will be with us in the 6:30 hour. Always great to talk to Dante. He, Dante will make you think about things that we do in our country as it relates to culture. So it'd be great to talk to Dante. We haven't had him on in a few weeks. And in the 7:30 hour, Anderson Clayton will be joining us, and she is the chair of the North Carolina Democratic Committee. I'm excited about her being with us, and she's going to be joining us on somewhat of a regular basis to talk about politics in general, but specifically what's happening down in North Carolina, which is going to be a highly influential state in this upcoming election in 2026 midterms, but also in some of the other elections along the way. Speaking of that, I got to get this in because I don't want to forget. It's the day of the election for the folks in Tennessee. So Afton Dean is running, and you guys know that that's a seat that we can grab. Let's do our best to help out, even at this 11th hour. I know a lot of people. I got a number of notifications of people who early voted there. So very excited about what's happening in that election, and let's keep our fingers crossed. It's close. She was within 2 points based on all the polling coming down to the wire. So fingers crossed. If there's anything you can do anywhere you are in the country, there's some folks that I've connected with online that have heard about our show, heard me talking about her race, and from different parts of the country that have said, yeah, thank you for pushing and promoting. So you guys do your part as well. if you can do anything these last few hours, because today is the voting day or the election day. Now, in the 7 o'clock hour, in studio with me today will be my good friend Enrico Mowatt, who's been with us a handful of times these last couple of months. And another great friend of mine, Rick Kasprzak, will be joining us. So it'll be the 3 Ds this morning, starting at 7. So we will have some fun. Hopefully you can hear the conversation over the laughter that I know is going to take place once these two guys hit the studio. So looking forward to hanging with my guys this morning. Looking forward to talking with Dante and certainly Anderson Clayton. How about that? But right now, check this out, progressives.
Well, Governor, let me have you weigh in on this, because part of your initial response to President Trump's post was to call for him to release the results of his MRI. And I want to give you a chance to give our viewers exactly a sense of what you mean. What exactly were you suggesting by that, Governor?
Well, here we got a guy on Thanksgiving where we spent time with our families, we ate, we played Yahtzee, we cheered for football or whatever. This guy is apparently in a room ranting about everything else. This is not normal behavior. It is not healthy. And presidents throughout time have released a couple things. They've released their tax returns, not Donald Trump, and they've released their medical records, not Donald Trump. And look, the MRI is one thing, but I think what's most concerning about this is, as your viewers out there are listening, has anyone in the history of the world ever have an MRI assigned to them and have no idea what it was for, as he says? So look, it's clear the president's fading physically. I think the mental capacity, again, ranting, crazily at midnight on Thanksgiving about everything else, there's reasons for us to be concerned. This is a guy that randomly says the airspace over Venezuela is closed. He's ruminating on if you could win a nuclear war. Look, this is a serious position. It's the most powerful position in the world. And we have someone at midnight throwing around slurs that demonize our children. And at the same time, he's not solving any of the problems. So I'm deeply concerned that he is incapable of doing the job.
My most appreciated part of this statement from Governor Walz, with him weighing in on Trump and all, obviously the content I found it's so on point, as Governor Walz so often is. But the fact that they're playing Yahtzee, did you guys catch that? Sitting around watching football, playing Yahtzee. I just, he's just a regular dude. This is so funny. We got a guy on Thanksgiving where we spent time with our families. We ate, we played Yahtzee, we cheered for football or whatever. But he's right. The dude in the White House is acting like a ranting lunatic. So I get to say acting like, because that's my observation. I'm not putting the label on him. Because I know that there's people out there that listen and wait to see if someone's going to say something negative or not sweet about the chaos agent in the White House and his merry band of idiots. I can say that because they're being idiotic. But in any event, Donald Trump is what Governor Walz has said. He's acting in a manner that we need to be more aware of. And the results of the MRI, the results of the testing, we all know we could do the whataboutisms all day long in terms of, if it were Biden, and we've seen the photos of President Biden getting along just fine, not in a wheelchair, Jake Tapper or anybody else in corporate media, not being wheeled around, et cetera. But to that end, what we have to care about is the fact that the people around Donald Trump, see, I think in many ways, and I might be wrong here, but this is my observation, I think that a lot of the people around him want him to fail. Right, Devin? I think more people than we were talking about want to see him fail, because there's one of two things, I think. Let me be completely honest about this. They either are so afraid of what will happen that they're probably begging and praying the universe, please don't let him fail or die, because they're afraid of what will happen in terms of the chaos that will ensue from that. J.D. Vance would become president, and it shakes up everything. they then know that they don't have. I mean, they have the power of the incumbency of the president in the 2028 election, but what they don't have is they don't have the guy. They don't have the face any longer, and they'll be the whole martyr thing and whatever. But the other side of it is they do want him to be gone because they want to be able to clear the path for what they think is going to be the GOP future and people who are going to run and they're going to step up and they're going to be the new faces of the GOP. And I don't think that they're going to be able to have a person in place to carry the bucket of water. Other people have talked about this, and I hope I'm stating it in a reasonably cogent way. But at the end of the day on this, I believe, I agree with what Governor Walz is saying. Let us see. We want to know at this point in this conversation about health and cognition and all the rest. It's too much at risk to have a guy floating around the White House or however he's getting around the White House or whatever's going on in health in a health capacity that is endangering him, the administration, the country, all the rest. And the fact that we don't know this information, the fact that they're essentially keeping us away from things that are important in this space, we all should have a problem with that. Now, that being said, and then we'll go to break, I don't want anybody in any sort of physical or health-related trauma. No one. Not even this dude who I severely dislike and have no respect for. That is the President of the United States. But we should know this information so that we can make good decisions about who's going to be leading the country. And we should know it about frankly, many of our leaders, if not all, of our elected officials. So thank you, Governor Walz, for just making it plain. We're going to take a quick break, guys. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
Becky didn't know what to do with new meds prescribed and no real cost clue.
She squinted at prices, that can't be right. Then tapped GoodRx and saw the light.
She could get a deal, book telehealth if she feel.
Learn about those meds without any stress. That one little app does all the rest. Even my horse downloaded it. Dang, save time and money on prescriptions.
Check GoodRx. GoodRx is not insurance.
When you switch to Progressive, you could save bundling your home and auto. Then you could put that money towards some of the surprisingly more expensive things in life.
May I help you? I just wanted to request a late checkout, please.
Of course. That's $30 per hour for up to 4 hours.
Huh. Okay, but if you can offer a late checkout, then that probably means no one is staying in that room. So if it's empty, maybe I can just stay a few extra hours.
Oh, aren't you adorable?
Life costs a lot, so bundle and you could save with Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states.
WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk, where facts matter.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chu.
All right, guys, welcome back to the show. I love getting the text messages from folks that tells me that people are somewhat paying attention. Yes, to Rick in Florida, because I know you need the attention. The Electoral College needs to go. I agree with that, among other things. But Trump's health is also important. So there you go. He likes to say, you don't talk about the Electoral College enough. Why not? Because we can't fix it till we have the numbers. That's the reason why. And every expert that I've talked to agrees with that. So just so you know, that's the reason why. So you can kind of get off of that spool of thread that, we got to get the numbers back. When we get the numbers back, then we can fix the Electoral College. It doesn't mean we can't talk about it, but it's meaningless right now when there's so many other things that are harming people's lives when it comes to their economic position. So that's the reason why. I want to answer your question that way so you understand there is a reason, and it's about timing and what we got to get done right now. So there you go. All right, let's see what else we got. Lois was told the MRI was 4 and can't remember. Lois is funny. Maybe 47 was told what the MRI was for and can't remember. You could be right, Lois. You could be right. Let's see. Yeah. Thanks, 847. You're right. Okay, so let's hit a couple Choose Views, and we got a little contest to talk about. December 2nd, 2025. Numbers to watch this week. This week's economic releases could set up a much anticipated December rate cut from the Federal Reserve. November jobs figures from private payroll provider ADP are due out tomorrow. This should offer more and fresher insight into the labor market, with the government's own data delayed until December 16th due to the historic shutdown. They're going to ride that in terms of data and information and reports, Devin. The federal government, Trump's administration, they're going to ride that for as long as they can to say, well, this is why we don't have this. This is why we don't have that, particularly when it comes to data, because they want to use it as a way to waste time to not show their poor performance. That's what's going to happen. Mark my words on that. So tomorrow, the payroll processor ADP is going to release its November employment report. The Institute of Supply Management will release its monthly purchasing managers index, which tracks if non-manufacturing sector is expanding. It's also an indicator of economic health in general. Then on Thursday, the 4th, the U.S. Department of Labor will release initial jobless claims for the previous week. The report works as a proxy for layoffs, tracks the number of people filing for unemployment benefits. And then on Friday, the Department of Commerce will release the September personal consumption expenditure price index and the Fed's preferred inflation measure. And that's what they use to determine how they're going to measure inflation. And of course, again, this report was delayed because of the government shutdown. University of Michigan, as always, will release its preliminary reading of December's Consumer Sentiment Index, which measures how Americans feel about current and future economic conditions. More Americans refuse to shell out for a new car, which isn't the worst thing in the world, because when we see the price of new cars, a lot of people are saying that the used market is better. Americans are paying more for food and clothes, but for cars, not really. Increasingly, consumers are buying used vehicles, waiting for deals, or taking on longer car loans in a bid to save cash, according to many industry experts. Forecasters now expect muted or no growth in auto sales for both 2025 and 2026, driven by tariffs, inflation, and a tough job market. But there's one group that could keep the market afloat, if only for a limited time: the top 20% of American households who continue to spend freely. Home sellers retreat as buyers, but demand is weakening. What does that mean? Home buyers who price their properties optimistically are seeing them linger on the market amid higher mortgage rates and economic uncertainty. According to the Wall Street Journal, roughly 57% of homes sold this year through October experienced at least one price reduction, according to the data from the National Association of Realtors. Others are taken off market altogether rather than selling at a loss, according to CNBC. And last but not least, manufacturing data shows a deeper slowdown during the month of November. And this ties back to numbers to watch. New data from the Institute of Supply Management is flashing a fresh warning about weakening economy figures. Its Purchasing Managers Index gauge, which tracks the manufacturing sector, came in at 48.2, well below the 49.1 forecast, and a further decline from October's 48.7 calculation. Anything under 50 is considered contraction territory. These results are worrisome, given that they're based on responses by purchasing and supply executives across hundreds of industrial firms. So, a couple of real world things that are happening right now. A couple of Choose Views news for you guys. But, these are things that we want to try to keep you posted on, as you know, every day. We have a contest. And let's talk about it for a second. Devin's laughing at me. Fry the Coop is Chicagoland's answer to what? Hot chicken. The fast casual chicken shop brings the heart with its simple cooked-to-order menu. Whether you want it crazy hot or no heat, Country Fry the Coop and satisfied your fried chicken fix. Signature sandwiches include the Nashville hot chicken and cheese sandwich, Chicago hot chicken sandwich, donut fried chicken, and spicy butter fried chicken. Fry the Coop has 10 locations in Chicagoland, open daily. Visit frythecoop.com or follow them on Instagram at frythecoop. Contests running by WCPT 820 are open to listeners 18 or older and residents of the greater Chicago, Northwest Indiana area. 1 entry per person, 1 winner per household. Void where prohibited by law. Listeners may only win or qualify to win once every 30 days. Complete rules are available at our website at WCPT820.com by clicking the contest tab. So there you go. We have a gift card that we're going to be giving away. So that's it. Make it happen, guys. All right. Oh, Devin, let's, before we bring Dante in, I want to go to this other clip that we have. That's the Bakari Sellers clip. The reason I want to talk about this, and we'll go ahead and play it, and then we'll come back and, let's go ahead and play that one, and then we'll come back.
What Obamacare did, which is what I like to call it, because he deserves credit for it. Whatever you want to say, he deserves credit for it. He did something that nobody else was able to do, but it allowed people to stay on their insurance until they were 26 years old. It got rid of health insurance companies who were literally pushing people out of emergency rooms, not caring for them because they had pre-existing conditions. But healthcare is more than that, and I think Ken would agree with this as well, because in rural communities like you represented in Virginia, like I'm from in South Carolina, it is almost the epicenter of your economy because it props up your rural hospitals. If those hospitals shut down, if you don't expand Medicaid, what happens? Your entire economy closes down because what's around those rural healthcare facilities? Bakeries, little hotels, pharmacies, all of these things. It's your number one employer. So it is a part of most communities in this country, entire ecosystem. And Republicans are so microscopic when it comes to it. So that's why you have people like Nikki Haley when she was governor of South Carolina who didn't expand Medicaid, and now they're looking back at it and it was a faux pas. Or Mississippi, because Republicans fundamentally wanted to tie this to Barack Obama. They didn't want him to have the credit, and now they don't have a fix or a solve for what should be a program that adapts with time.
Right.
The reason that that's important is the economies around hospitals or economy around medical facilities. The Republicans, I've said this a lot over the last weeks, if not months. Republicans are the ones whose laps this should be sitting in. It's at their feet. So in conversations that you have with people that you know, when they talk about how the Democrats aren't doing this or how the Democrats are doing that, you need to ask them who's responsible for making sure that millions of Americans have access to health care in current times, and who's a party that's responsible for that, and which party is working very hard to take that away from members of your family and business associates and colleagues. And the answers are real clear. The Democratic Party is a party that's working to make sure that Americans have that benefit. By comparison, Republicans are doing everything they can, and it's to take that away. And it's interesting. I know that we had this debate and this hard-fought battle with regard to the shutdown and what was on the table to try to get the shutdown fixed. I guess that's the best word I'll come up with. And we know that the healthcare system is a big part of that conversation, and we know that based on what Republicans were doing and what is in Project 2025 as it relates to Medicare, Medicaid as well, because of how they want to extrapolate those benefits indirectly, we know that the Republicans are the ones that are at the tip of the spear of causing the problem. So I want you guys to keep it top of mind, on the tip of your tongue, when you're talking to someone about coverage, when you're talking to someone about I guess you could say medical protection, and I mean that broadly. There's only one party that's doing anything to help and make sure as best possible that those holes are plugged, and it's the Democratic Party. And we say it again all the time, it's not perfect, but the strides that we've made, going back to the origination of Obamacare, the Republican Party never got that done. And all they've tried to do since then is tear it down and tear it apart. To help who? Where would that money go? It's not going to go in the pockets of everyday consumers. So just be armed with that. Know that the Republican Party is trying to take it away. Even after this, coming out of the shutdown, they're still waffling on what the fixes should be. And the Democrats, we know that they had to make an incredibly hard, difficult decision. But at that same time, it was done with the goal of trying to get things in a better place when it comes to the enhanced subsidies. Democrats get some credit for that, not the Republicans. They want to tear it down. So we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll be chatting with our good friend, hopefully Dante King. Number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820, WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
WCPT replay.
I worked all day updating my office on what's going on with ICE agents. These are animals. There's video of them tasing a man who was already zip-tied in a vehicle, and they tased him because what? They didn't like the way he was behaving. Or he was already zip-tied, not to mention a 1-year-old who was exposed to tear gas as her parents were running errands, as they were also, by the way, chasing down an 11-year-old girl. I'm not going to say I'm sorry for calling them animals who won't even share their badge numbers, their names, or their faces with us. Spare me for their protection, as though there aren't judges, police officers, FBI, all the different areas of law enforcement and our justice system who do put themselves on the line. We've had judges whose families have been killed in their homes. So you're telling me that an ICE agent is feeling are they feeling vulnerable?
Keep listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Vuchitsky. We'll see mostly cloudy skies here for today, with temperatures holding rather steady. Winds out of the northwest around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Then for tonight, mostly cloudy, with temperatures falling early then slowly rising overnight. By Wednesday, a chance for some snow showers, cloudy, high of 33 degrees. And Thursday, sunshine, we'll see high around 15. Friday, partly sunny, high of 24. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 20.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chu.
Hey, guys, welcome back to the show. Yes, it is Tuesday, December 2nd, 2025. I can't believe we are that far along in this year, but we are. And we have survived with a lot of pain and stress and strife, this new administration. And we've been doing our best, and maybe we could do more to speak up and speak to it about what it's doing, and not just the administration, but as I say pretty much every day, the entire GOP, the entire Republican Party, MAGA, all of them are responsible for where we are. The things that are happening are in their laps, but what we have to do is keep speaking to it and about it, writing about it, calling about it, whatever it is. Dante King is one of the top voices in that space in terms of calling stuff out. He doesn't pull any punches, and that's sometimes he throws some punches that I don't throw. But as you guys know, he has been with us before, author, leader, speaker, innovator, Dante King. Good morning, sir. Welcome to Choose Views.
Thank you so much. It's always good to be with you. I appreciate being here.
Absolutely. I heard you during the break talking about it's early and you're tired.
Yes, it's 4:30 a.m. where I am.
Yeah, I know, man. I know. Thank you for getting up and being with us. When we're done, you can shut it down and crawl back underneath the covers and catch a quick nap before you got to then get up and get going with your day. How have you been doing, though, otherwise, given what I said in the intro in terms of, we're into this first year of this administration. How are you holding up? Because I know you, like me, we deal with this every day. We're throwing fireballs and curveballs. But how are you holding up, sir?
Thanks for asking. I can honestly say this year is probably the first year of my life where I can honestly say, like, I'm literally praying every day. Mm-hmm. And I'm not a religious person. I'm more of a spiritual person.
Yeah.
And so I've implemented, I've had to implement intentionally gratitude practices so that I can just try to calm myself and reset my nervous system every day. Because I feel like there's every day we're waking up to something new to worry about. And with the effects and the impacts on the labor market right now, I know we were going to talk about AI this morning, but with just changes within the labor market and how one accesses opportunity, coupled with, we are seeing literally rampages, a Gestapo government that has unleashed basically a racial militia to go and, hunt and capture Black and brown people on the American streets. All of these things are severely disturbing, and they cause people like you and me, who are Black, grave anxiety. I mean, for the first time, and I've said this before, I think for the first time in recent history, modern history, white people are seeing that their rights too can be affected, that they too can be targeted by the legal system, that they too, can become casualties of politics in this government, but not to the degree that it's affecting us. So I've been very worried this year, every day. So I've had to do things to calm myself. So I really appreciate you asking.
Yeah, I genuinely, when I ask that question of people, I mean it. I mean, I want to know how folks are doing and what they're doing to alleviate that stress, because it's real. And one of the things, Dante, and this is the thing, you and I, as Black men, there's so much that we see that we don't talk about. Everyday observations. And I'm not saying that other folks in other communities don't have that same reality, but there's things that you and I see and observe and protect ourselves from, that we protect ourselves from so that we can continue to march on and do the work that we've been blessed to be able to do. It's a blessing for me, I look at it that way, to have this show. I know it's a blessing for you to present the message that you do and to write in the prolific manner that you do and to provide the guidance that you do. I know you view that as a blessing. I'm not putting words in your mouth, but I'm kind of putting words in your mouth. But we protect ourselves from a lot of things that we observe so that we can continue on in the fight. And I would say that that's something that our white brothers and sisters, as I say, our Caucasian brothers and sisters, are seeing like never before in their own lives. And I'll give you the example that rings louder, probably the loudest with me, is there are a couple of suburbs that are literally adjacent. You walk across the street and you're in the suburb of Chicago. Oak Park is one of them. Another one to the north is Evanston. And going back to your point about ICE, what I saw in a lot of communities, both in the city and in some of the contiguous suburbs, is where ICE went into those communities. Broadview's another one. That's the one that everybody became familiar with. They didn't even know what Broadview, Illinois was, globally. There were white folks said no. Whistles coming out of the house at 6 o'clock in the morning in pajamas and slippers, saying no. So I think that a lot of our Caucasian brothers and sisters have realized, like no time before, and you said it best, that their safety, their sanctity, their security, their livelihoods are not going to be or could be affected. They are currently. And it's interesting to watch how they've said, okay, I've heard my brothers like Dante and like Richard and others say that this stuff is crazy, but now I'm seeing that it's real.
Yes. Can we just unpack that point?
I know it was a lot, man.
No, it was good. So good. I visited Evanston before, so I'm familiar with, that suburb. You said white people ran out of their homes in pajamas with whistles. Think about how much of a privilege that is.
I know.
Think about a community of Black and Latinx or Hispanic people rushing out of their homes in their underwear or pajamas trying to blow their whistles. We would go to jail.
Yes.
And what I'm compelling people to think about, as we make this point together, is that there's such a privilege and a freedom to being white, that you can protest in these ways that really are on the table for you, that are not on the table for Black and brown people. So it is imperative that white people in this moment be standing up, be doing everything that they can to protest, because they have an agency that we do not. I remember there were some people who were trying to get me to go out and canvass politically with them. You know, it would be great if you could join us. And I had to explain to these white people, I, as a Black man, even as a gay Black man, am not walking up to a stranger's door and knocking to ask people if they're going to go vote. I am liable to be shot if I do that. You know, think about Ahmaud Arbery. Think about a lot of other people that have done that. So there's so many layers to every single point of our existence and our reality here within a racialized context, within a racialized society.
It's one thing to, and let me come back to a point that you just made. All we're saying is use your privilege as power, because you have it. And boy, how amazing things get done. Because what's interesting, Dante, I say this in all favor and fun. Probably a month ago, we were watching the weather change here in Chicago, as it does in the upper Midwest and other parts of the country. And I said, watch this, people. Mark my words. Once the weather starts to change a little bit, I'm gonna be surprised if ICE is still here in the droves that they're in right now, in the numbers, because I said, an ICE agent is gonna be putting himself at risk trying to snatch somebody out of a car when there's snow on the ground. He might end up hurting himself more than he, quote unquote, is gonna cause any discomfort to that person who he's trying to get out of a vehicle. And sure enough, weather changed, folks, the ICE is gone. Now I make light of that. Only because I don't want anybody to look at that and say anything other than I was trying to make create a little bit of humor around weather's going to change, they're going to be gone. Sure enough, weather's changed, they're gone. The redeployment, though, is to North Carolina. And later in the show, we have the chair of the North Carolina Democratic Committee, Anderson Clayton, is going to be on with us. And I know she's going to have a few things to say. But they went to North Carolina. They went to warmer areas that, ironically, are communities where the proportion of white folks to Black folks and white folks to Hispanic folks is different. So I'm watching how these cities are mobilizing, and they're prepared for ICE coming into their communities. And frankly, Chicago was a city that stood up and said no in great measure. And obviously a lot of crazy things that still happen, and people were arrested and all that. But other cities said Chicago showed us the way in many ways of how to not let these people come in and run roughshod. So I'm curious to see what's going to be happening down in North Carolina over these next few weeks.
I agree, and I think you all have a great governor, at least on the political landscape. He's someone who is very vocal, very articulate. He has a great combination of humor, seriousness, intelligence, personality. So he's someone that just spoke up forcefully and pushed back. Similarly, to Governor Gavin Newsom of California. But when we think about what's going on here in the ways that this administration has targeted cities with Black mayors and Black governors, let's be very, very, very clear. The White House put out a list of various cities that they were going to go to. Each and every city had a Black or brown mayor. And so everything that is happening in this society where people within the immigrant population, American citizens are concerned, this is about whiteness and white supremacy and white people being, not just in fear of being replaced, but even all of what's happened with these tariffs, it's because, within the white supremacy frame, you've got the G7, which consists of a conglomerate of European countries, that are competing now with the BRICS nations that just recently accepted some other people. And so the GDP, white people are mad because these non-European nations have now gotten together, and now collectively their GDP is 35% compared to the G7, which is roughly at 28%. That's huge. This has never been seen within the context of modern history. This has not been done, or has not existed since about 500-600 years ago, right? Yeah. When these nations were separate, there were not all of these conglomerates, et cetera. So we've got to look at this through not just a domestic lens, but through an international geopolitical lens.
Yeah, one of the things that I think that we oftentimes don't do, maybe I guess that's the way of putting it, is we don't look at how what we do in the United States really is impacting other parts of the world. And I mean that on a lot of different levels, but let's just stay on the economic piece for a second. When we cause economic harm to an area, over time, a lot of countries have been pushed back. Now that's happening. Other countries are saying, you know what, these tariffs are causing us some literal harm to our economies. And other countries are saying, our allies particularly, this administration, the United States does not know what they're doing in this space. And we're not going to waste time and wait around for them to figure it out. We got to go on our own. And some of the countries that are doing this are brown countries, if you will, that are saying, you know what, we've known for a long time that we have to be self-sustaining, and now we're being forced to do it. The irony is, to your point, they're doing a damn good job of it, and they're saying to the rest of the world, even some of the more progressive allied countries, y'all got to figure out your alliance with the United States as well. Meanwhile, we're going to go kind of do our thing over here. And when you guys are ready to play, then you can come and join us. It's interesting.
And maybe we won't need you guys to play. Yep. Because as we focus on making, our currency or creating a new currency, a world currency that is focused on de-dollarization, weakening the U.S. dollar, because the U.S. market economy only represents 15% of the global market, right? So maybe we won't need you to play. Once you all have, or once we have converged, once we have come together, once we've created economic structures in trade markets where we can trade directly with each other by circumventing U.S. trade, we won't need you to play.
Nope.
So I don't think people are understanding the predicament that this administration has put this country in. And
because of this.
Yes.
And what I put up on the screen for those who are listening is I pointed to the brown skin of my hand, just to emphasize that that's the reason why. You're listening to Choose Views. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM. I'm Richard Chu. We're talking to my man Dante King, the professor, who is now waking up a little bit. He's got his oars in the water. I like to use that phrase. I know you like to pedal around the bay, but man, listen. The great thing about conversations like this, and I tell people, like the comedian Arnez J says, buckle up, okay? The reason that these conversations with someone like Dante King and his stature and his experience are important is because we spend a lot of time stepping over, not wanting to talk about things. And I'll give you a quick example. Thanksgiving dinner, hung out with some family, and we had conversations about gender, about racism, about politics that to a depth that we've not had in ever. I won't say a long time, ever, Dante. And being a part of a blended family, meaning me, it was refreshing because I've been waiting for that moment where people would go, you know what, this stuff is messed up. And we need to have these conversations. So I said to everybody at the table, I said, you all realize that for years, people have stepped around and said, well, we can't talk about race. We can't talk about religion. We can't talk about sex. We can't talk about money, these things. But in the process of not doing that, look at the space that we've lost, all the power that we've lost. We've ceded it to the others who do talk about it. And so we talk about it from the perspective, or we want to talk about from the perspective that's easy. But in reality, this stuff is not easy. It's hard. And the more we talk about racial issues in this country and economic issues and gender issues and religion, the more we're going to be able to solve them, because we're not ceding the conversation to others, because every one of those categories, the Republican Party right now has had the dominant voice for the last decade. We can't keep doing that.
I agree with you, and I appreciate even you taking that step to have that discussion at Thanksgiving. I know I try to avoid these conversations in my personal life as much as possible. I ask people if they read my book before we talk, because I've spent too much time writing in order to, rather to just have someone come up and engage me and want to have a conversation on the topic. But in my book, Diagnosing Whiteness and Anti-Blackness, I talk about, because a lot of people have contentions when they hear conversations on race and racism. But think about that, right? Yeah. Because race and racism within the context of our society is very problematic. It has been, but it's our reality. Yep. We have to ask ourselves, why does race exist? When was it created? And what was it created for? And how is it functioning? And that's what my work is about, So yeah, I agree with you.
And by design, and that's why I tell everybody, buckle up, because these are conversations that we no longer have the privilege, any of us, white, black, Hispanic, Latino, Asian, Eastern, whatever. We no longer have the luxury and privilege. Even those that think that they don't have the luxury and privilege to not talk about these things. Those that think, well, it's them, that'll get fixed, it's over there. Because what's happening, and what I've been paying attention to, is a number of people that are I can see them looking at what's happening in the country right now and knowing that a lot of this is driven off of some baseline of racism and bias and the others. And wondering, there are people, I will say this in all fairness, there are people that are sitting back going, how long is it going to take before it's me? Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? And you've probably seen, you've probably been in meetings or whatever in the last 12 months now, where you sat back and said, you've observed the room and to see how many people you can see their wheels are turning and wondering, when is this going to impact me? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's interesting because one of the conversations I've been having with a lot of my white colleagues and friends is, there's so much happening right now that is a first for white people that many white people have never seen or experienced before. And so they're using language like, this is such an unprecedented time. I can't believe the justice system is being weaponized, in the way that it's being weaponized. I can't believe specific people are being targeted. And I've been asking them, I said, please qualify your statements. They said, what do you mean? Say, for white people, this particular circumstance is unprecedented for white people. Think about what you're saying. Yeah. And then I will repeat everything that they said in the moment.
Yeah.
And I will make the point, okay, so you're saying that this is unprecedented because the justice system is being weaponized against people? It's been weaponized against people. I didn't know America was a fascist state. It's been a fascist state where black people are concerned.
Yeah.
Think about what was slavery, what was Jim Crow, what's the mass industrial, the prison complex.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So no, but this is why, part of the reason why I encourage folks to get out of there. Let me give the right credit. Michelle Peltier is one of the members of our team here. She co-hosts a family meeting show on Sunday from 4 to 6, and she sits in for me when I got to take a little bit of a break. Michelle's fantastic. And she talks about it's important that people have to start to realize they're going to have to get out of their comfort zone in fixing things right now. They're getting out of their comfort zone is going to allow them to grow, but it's also going to be one of the tools in terms of us moving forward. And I'm a big believer in that. So our conversations, yours and mine, for example, that we have here now in this segment, but our broader conversations with people that we love and all of our communities that you and I touch. You can't be a black man in America and not be exposed to every other community in America, every other part of America. That's just how we roll. So I've said to my white brother and sisterman, listen, we're not saying this to be harmful or hurtful. We're saying this because we know the power of your allyship when you use it. And when you use it, then you don't have to ask the question, why is this happening? Where is this coming from? When you get out of your comfort zone and when you say, no, I'm not going to allow this to happen. This is not right. This is inhumane. And start there. Not even this is not American. This is just not humane.
That's right.
Then they realize their power. So that's why I do push people. And I'm not afraid to sit in a room full of all white folks and just me and say, no, this is not how you should be thinking. You may want to, but if you want to stay away from that, I can't believe this is happening moment, then you need to step up now because it's not going to happen. It's happening right now. And the tariffs are the terror that a lot of white Americans are going, damn, I did not realize this was going to flash back on me like this.
That's right. That's right. And Donald Trump himself and his administration are having that reaction. We did not think that these other countries would respond this way by not folding to everything that we wanted, right? We did not think that they would get together and try to circumvent trade with us and try to establish new relations, new foreign economic relations with each other. And so you see one by one, Donald Trump removing the tariffs from certain countries. He removed them from China.
They've gotten quiet now about it too. They're not making that big, like, let's have a press conference about we're taking it. They're just very quietly kind of backroom dealing it. Isn't that interesting?
It is. It is. But what no one is really talking about or emphasizing at this point, though, is that the damage is already done.
Yep.
In the rough spot that he's put this country in, we are headed for an economic recession that no one is talking about at all whatsoever. It's not just the economy that's being hit, but we're not producing jobs at all.
No.
We are really at a jobs deficit. And they're not even producing the reporting on the jobs because 2 straight quarters in a row, and that constitutes a recession.
Yep.
And I believe that we're there already.
The United States has always had this unique ability to prop up things when there are other things actually happening behind the curtain, whatever you want to call it. And I think right now we're seeing that, and we're seeing it to your point about how the tariffs have come back and bitten the United States in the behind, and not just the literal tariff implementation, but to your point now, the ways in which other countries are saying, I don't know if I want to play in that sandbox right now. When they get their act right, and they're not being ashamed to say it. They're saying, listen, and I appreciate that from other countries. I mean, I just do. I love our country. I love our country. We were talking about this on the family meeting on Sunday. We don't hate our country. We hate what our country is doing and has done. Let us be clear about that. But I love this country. There isn't any place on the planet I want to live in terms of countries. There's places I visited that I'd love to go to and say, yeah, I could live there. Yes. But right now, I love our country. I just want it to stop lying to itself. I want it to grab itself by the collar and say, we need to fix this. And that's why I circle back to the point you made earlier about our white allies in the country have got to wield their privilege and power as white folks in America a little bit more strongly right now. It's got to happen.
Agreed. Absolutely. It's so interesting. I know some of my Asian friends and colleagues, some of my, who are in the professional fold. This is true for some of my Hispanic, Latinx friends and colleagues who are actively making retirement plans to move out of this country, to go back to where they came from. I've heard a number of times over and over again, my family came here because we were escaping authoritarianism. We didn't know that this was going to happen here. We came here to escape this, and now this is happening here. And, just really don't want to be here anymore. So I'm actively making plans to go back to China, to go back to Korea, to go back to Mexico. So we really are in a rough spot unless this country is willing to address its issues around race and racism, this country is on its way out.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It really is unfortunate. Dante King, I knew it was going to happen. We run out of time so quickly, which means that we've got to either do this more frequently or do it for a longer period of time when we have you on. Either way, it's a pleasure to have you on, brother. Always stay safe. Go get a nap, then get back up when you got to get back up. Have that coffee or tea, and get your oars in the water. But thanks for hanging out with us this morning. Author Dante King, appreciate you being with us, man.
Thank you, Richard.
Have a great day. Talk to you soon. All right. Bye-bye. Bye. Let's hit a quick break, Devin. 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
Check Up on Health with Chris Whitting.
Veterans face a wide variety of mental health and stress-related challenges when they return to civilian life. Here's Christopher Loftus, Ph.D., National Director for the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs.
It is common for veterans to struggle with mental health and stress, both when they come back, but also over time. It comes out in different ways and different reasons. Oftentimes, mental health struggles come out after a life stressor, a financial stressor, and those are the moments when we really want to make sure that veterans have options for reaching out for help.
But help is available.
MakeTheConnection.net is the site where hundreds of veterans have shared stories across military eras, across military branches, about the struggles that they went through, and more importantly, how they went about getting help and what treatment has meant for them.
Again, the address is MakeTheConnection.net. With Checkup on Health, I'm Chris Whitting.
Hey Progressives, it's Richard Chu, host of Choose Views weekdays 6 to 8 a.m. Central. We're all anxious for the 2026 midterm election to arrive so we can restore some sanity and much needed oversight to our government. In fact, it's the most important midterm election in American history, and Choose Views will be in the thick of it, bringing you candidate interviews on a regular basis. I'll be talking to Democratic Party hopefuls running for House and Senate at the federal and state level, as well as candidates for governor and other state and local offices.
I am in love with our ability to fight for our rights, to fight for our future, to fight for our freedoms, to fight as our ancestors fought. It's just our moment. This is just our time to stand up and to speak up. We can't give up on this.
If you miss any of the interviews live, you'll be able to find them all on WCPT's Candidate Interviews page at heartlandsignal.com/candidates. That's Choose Views weekdays from 6 to 8 a.m. on WCPT, Chicago's progressive talk for 20 years.
Steel. Check off the wish list with instant savings and free battery offers on select Steel tools. Shop online or in store. Now that's a steal.
AP News, I'm Ben Thomas. More optimistic talk over efforts to end Russia's war in Ukraine. Sagar Magani reports the latest comes from Ukraine's president.
As work continues on revising a Trump administration peace proposal that was seen as tilted in Russia's favor, Volodymyr Zelensky says the plan now looks better. He was in Paris, where French President Emmanuel Macron says this could be a turning point. At the White House,
we do feel quite good.
Spokeswoman Caroline Leavitt notes Trump envoy Steve Witkoff will meet tomorrow with Vladimir Putin in Moscow. The U.S.-Russia part of it worries European Union Foreign Policy Chief Kaja Kallas.
The pressure will be put on the victim.
And says forcing Ukraine to give up land to its invader would send a bad signal.
That whoever has the power gets to take what they want.
Sagar Magani, Washington.
The White House says it was a Navy admiral who in September ordered a second deadly strike on an alleged drug boat in the Caribbean and insists it was a lawful order. Members of Congress raising questions. Annette Donahue reports air travelers without a real ID will face a $45 fee starting in February.
Real ID has been required since May, but passengers without it have been allowed to clear security with extra screening. According to the Department of Homeland Security, 94% of passengers already have real ID. The $45 fee is meant to get those 6% without it to get it. Real ID is designed to meet enhanced requirements mandated in the aftermath of the September 11th attacks. It shows up on IDs as a white star in a yellow circle. TSA officials say paying the fee does not guarantee verification, and travelers with identities that cannot be verified may be turned away. If approved, the verification covers a 10-day travel period. Ed Donahue, Washington.
Stocks closed lower to start the week. This is AP News. More violence in Haiti. Lisa Dwyer has the latest.
Hundreds of protesters seized the offices of City Hall to demand protection from increasing gang violence. Haiti's central region was attacked by some of Haiti's cruelest gangs over the weekend, killing men, women, and children, forcing survivors to flee into the darkness. Police made emergency calls for backup, but the bulk of Haiti's police force and the UN-backed Kenyan force are in Port-au-Prince, almost 2.5 hours away, and which itself is largely held by gangs. One survivor, Renee Charles, says, "Give me the guns, I'm going to fight the gangs. We've got to stand up and fight." Activists say they alerted authorities before the attack, but to no avail, and are urging survivors sleeping on the streets to sleep in government buildings for safety. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
There's more news at apnews.com. I'm Ben Thomas. Thanks for listening.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see mostly cloudy skies here for today, with temperatures holding rather steady. Winds out of the northwest around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Then for tonight, mostly cloudy, with temperatures falling early then slowly rising overnight. By Wednesday, a chance for some snow showers, cloudy, high of 33 degrees. And Thursday, sunshine, will see high around 15. Friday, partly sunny, high of 24. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 18.
Are you a parent of a 2 to 8-year-old? Listen closely for an exciting offer, then head to abcmouse.com/radio to learn more. By now, you've probably heard of ABC Mouse.
ABC Mouse is like a little one-on-one teacher. It has helped her so much.
We're offering a promo at abcmouse.com/radio to try it for free for a month, then $14.99 per month until canceled. Go to abcmouse.com/radio to see this offer. That's abcmouse.com/radio. Actual ABC Mouse users compensate for their testimonials, sponsored by Age of Learning.
You're listening to WCPT 820, because facts matter.
From the headlines to the heart of the city, Richard Chew breaks it all down. You're back on Chew's Views.
All right, guys. Yeah, we are back, and it is about to get fun in the studio. It was great to have Dante King on. He is unapologetic, and like I said, he throws some punches that I don't even throw. But it's always great to have him on because he keeps it real, and he's very, very unafraid to talk about the issues that we have when it comes to race and culture and gender issues in the United States of America. So kudos to him. Follow him, get his book, his trainings, all the things that are out there. In a little bit, Anderson Clayton, who is the chair of the North Carolina Democratic Committee, will be with us. But in the meantime, two of my best road dogs are with me this morning. My man Enrico Mowatt and my man Rick Kasprzak are here in studio with me this morning. The 3 Ds, the 3 Rs, and you can make of that whatever you will, listening folks across the country. Good morning, fellas.
Good morning.
Good morning, Richard. How are you today?
Good.
Awesome.
I'm good.
It's good to see you.
Good to see you. Good to see both of you guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah. This is something we've been talking about. So the little known story, Rico, my wife Ann and I were visiting Rick and his husband, Jim, back in the spring.
Yeah.
We were talking about different stuff, and I think you had just been on, and Rick, I think, had called in. And I
remember that.
And somebody said, one of us said, it'd be great to have you and Rico and the three of you on in studio. And I was like, we won't get anything done.
We won't.
And somebody said, who cares?
It'll be a good time.
It'll be a good time.
It'll be a great time.
So we've been trying to figure this out for a while, and we will do it again when we can. But I love having you guys here. I love and respect both of you so much. You guys have been game changers in my life, and I cannot say that without, you guys have been game changers in my life. So thanks for hanging out this morning.
Absolutely.
Feelings mutual.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanksgiving was good. Y'all didn't get fat.
Thanksgiving was great.
It was awesome. I'm just coming out of my food coma.
As
of last night. The last of the leftovers have been completely taken care of, done, eaten. So yes,
I have the carcass of a 20-pound turkey sitting in my refrigerator right now, just waiting to be dropped into the pot.
There you go.
Well, that's good because we do want to take advantage of the time to hang out with family. We've all heard the stories about what Thanksgiving can and should be. So fortunately, we were able to hang out with family and do those kinds of fun things.
Yes.
So crazy time as always. I think that's the new label for where we are in this country. Dante talked about the fact that other countries are starting to circle their wagons, and they have been for a while when it comes to this conversation around tariffs and how it's impacting and been impacting them. But they're saying, you know what, we got to figure out how to do our own thing. We have to figure out how to work within our own means until the United States gets their act together. And I think that's real.
Yeah, it's absolutely real. And it's one of those things where you're really seeing how the kind of effect that this administration is having, not just domestically, but globally, and also how we're being looked at globally by, fellow countries that were allies and, relied on us and us on them for goods, for services, for products, and it's just most for fellowship.
Yeah, right. Just that alone, just that connection. I sent you guys a couple of articles, and one of them is, I guess the headline could be Marjorie Taylor Greene is trying to find her way and meandering around to determine what lie she's going to tell next.
Yeah.
But the one article that I sent you was about Republicans are starting to seemingly peel away. The guy in Indiana that got upset with Trump for referring to someone as retarded.
Yeah.
Yep.
Rick, you probably got some thoughts about
that. I just cannot believe that we're in this place right now where behaviors and conversations that are being had are accepted today, where just 15 years ago, people would have been so insulted and enraged, and that's not acceptable behavior. And something has happened in the last 10 to 15 years where all of this unacceptable behavior has become acceptable.
Yeah.
And I question, I have conversations with myself all the time trying to figure out how this happened. How did we get here?
I got a couple of thoughts. Well, first and foremost, and Rick and I were talking about this on the way in, is that some of the NFL, Roger Goodell always talks about respect the shield.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to respect the office of the presidency.
All right.
And the office of the presidency is supposed to be something more than what it currently is right now. And a lot of it, to your question as far as the past 15 years, I think social media has really dumbed down a lot of people. I think it's really made, like people that think they're smart say things that aren't smart, and they're accepted. People that aren't funny doing skits and thinking that they're funny.
Right.
Misinformation flying all over the place. And the thing that's so scary is that how are we going to extract ourselves from the algorithm and get to the actuality of what's happening and like what's not acceptable. And again, I've said it before on your show, I've said it before in other instances, the uproar over a tan suit. The uproar over a tan suit. And yet this guy is using the R word, which, one of my favorite movies is Tropic Thunder, and the brilliance of Robert Downey Jr. still holds up. But that scene where he uses the R word wantonly does not. And there's a reason for that. And that's the thing that I don't understand. And so that's my quasi undocumented, I don't know, the opinion as to why it is the way it is. And I again, it's not based on anything, but just conjecture.
It's observation too, though. I mean, I think we're probably smart enough, and we are chronologically old enough to have been raised in a way, whether it be directly from our parents or those that were around us, that oftentimes would say, sometimes just step back and look at things and listen to what's going on and make observations so that you can come to some sort of not necessarily a conclusion, but at least be able to be reasonably cogent on something. And to your point, our change in media, and I won't just say social media, not to saying that what you said is wrong, but that in addition to our change in how we communicate and interact has dumbed down significantly. Yeah. And I remember when Bush was in office, and I'm paraphrasing, and I'm probably going to botch this, there was some questions floating around in the daily conversation about why the administration was doing certain things a certain way. And Bush had the arrogance to say something along the lines of, well, you all just sit back and let us do what we're doing. We know what we're doing. Let us do the work. And I remember thinking, you out of your damn mind. You took us to war, punk.
Yeah.
And you want us to not question you and have you tell us that you'll tell us how it should be. And Condoleezza Rice kind of chimed in that same space. But they'll stay on point.
Yeah, don't
right.
Don't go there.
but there's been an effort for a while to get to, and I think some of it comes back to this sort of the king mentality rules or the courtship rules over everybody else. Yeah. And then people just you add to that social media, you add to that, let's take away books, let's take away access to information, let's make it hard for people to understand history. And then you have a community of people that are just kind of surfing around their life and not really truly plugged into something that's meaningful.
No.
Now unpack that, Rick.
Sure. Yeah. Well, the first thing that comes to mind from that is it appears that facts no longer matter.
Yeah.
So, there are, lies that are spewed out through the various media outlets, and people just run with it without doing any of their own research as to whether or not it's true.
Yep.
And I've had many conversations with people where I know for a fact what they're saying is completely wrong, and they are married to that belief and will fight to the bitter end that they are right.
Yeah.
And you can look at all of the situations that we're currently dealing with right now, and I have had a few conversations with people where I finally just had to say, pick up a history book, okay, and do me a favor and read this history book, okay, and tell me that you don't see parallels.
Good point. We're going to take a quick break, guys. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
This is Tony Moret. I'm an estate planning attorney who drafts living trusts and wills for my clients. You have probably heard my ads here on WCPT for the last few years. Your fellow listeners, when we have completed their plans, say, I wish I had done this sooner. It wasn't nearly as hard as I thought it would be. We can complete your estate plan within 30 days or less. There are certainly decisions that need to be made, but my 30-plus years of experience will help guide you through this process. There may never be a perfect time to start, but whenever I'm asked when is the best time, my answer is always the same. Now is the best time, while it is on your mind. Being able to tell your family that you have an estate plan in place, that all the details have been taken care of, will be a great relief to both yourself and those you care for the most. Our initial consultation is without charge, and there is no obligation. My phone number is 847-996-0496, and my website is moretlawoffice.com, spelled M-O-R-E-E. I look forward to speaking with you.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
You're listening to Choose Views with Richard Chu.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. As we've said before, the best stuff happens when we're off the air. We were talking about the press, and Rico made the comment that we just can't believe that a president would call a person piggy or stupid or fake news and these other things that are coming out of the mouths of Donald Trump and other people in the administration and the GOP at large. And we were joking about some of the things that are out there, or the things that we wish some of the reporters would say. Like, we wish a reporter would say, no, you're fake news, and throw a few F-bombs at the president.
Yeah.
But who has the courage? It seems as though none of them have the courage to do that.
You know, I think I'm going to try to get some fake press credentials and make my way to Washington.
Could you imagine?
that would be awesome.
Could you imagine the three of us being invited into a press conference and have Wait. Let's just have some fun with this and have Caroline Leavitt talk about why we should defund anything that's tied to the LGBTQ community.
Oh my goodness!
And one of the three of us would have something to say about that, if not all three of us.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if we were at a press meeting briefing, and one of the someone said, like Caroline Leavitt said, yeah, and we need to, we're not racist, we're not doing racist things, and Rico had something to say about it.
I think I would start off with, first of all, your mother's really disappointed in you, and then I would just kind of go from there.
I would open with my question. I would raise my hand and say, "Excuse me, Miss Leavitt, Miss Leavitt," and she would go, "Yes, Mr. Chu." I would say, I'm confused as to how I should address you. Should I address you as piggy or stupid or fake news?
Right.
That's how that. Listen,
A, B, or C.
Please, somebody in the corporate media.
I just want my shot. I just want my shot.
Just want my shot. Just give me the ball with 3 seconds left, and I'm sitting on the 3-point line.
I don't need credentials after this. I just want it one time.
Right. I don't need to come back. Right. I don't need to come back. I kissed the Blarney Stone once. Exactly. I don't need to do it again.
Yeah.
Oh man, I would never have to pay for a meal anywhere in this country.
In the world. In the world. The three of us.
I'd take you out to dinner first.
The three of us, if we were there and got to do that, it would be the headline news that evening. It would be the top story.
I would.
Three men from Chicago.
I would be on Kimmel the next day.
Yeah, and you would be the next day, and I would be the next day. Yes. You could just he would have. It would be one of their highest rated one of his highest rated shows to have the three of us on at one time after us just rocking it at the White House press
without questions. Without question.
You'd be on longer than the 24-hour news cycle on that one.
Oh, it would be
without a doubt.
I would be.
But that as we make joke about that and have fun with that. We know that the corporate media, and I'm not even calling it mainstream media anymore, because I view us as mainstream in what we're doing. But the corporate medium it's all about access. It has nothing to do with reporting on stories that are important and meaningful as it relates to the country. I mean, somebody asked the question about this. That's not somebody. Governor Walz talks about the MRI.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
This dude's supposed to be, the Adonis, but we all know it's a damn lie.
Yeah.
And so the corporate media is not doing their job, and certainly not in the manner in which, they did with President Biden. And even when I talked to Jake Tapper, I said, Jake, you wrote the book on President Biden, blah, blah, blah. When is the book coming out on Trump and his health? And he waffled around and said, well, Richard, we do cover his health every day. And I said, well, you don't really cover it every day. You cover it, but it's not something. And I couldn't get him to answer, are you going to write a book or not? He didn't say yes or no. And, folks heard the interview, and I could have pressed him harder, and I could have leaned into him harder. But the point is, none of them are really saying we want to see more of Trump's medical information.
Well, and not just medical information, but even just his emotional health. We talked about his decline possibly, and Waltz talks about that. He is a quintessential example of a narcissistic personality disorder. Mm-hmm. And I'm just going through the steps, looking at some of the stuff needed for admiration, lack of empathy, arrogance and condensation, in terms of being condescending.
Yeah.
And no one's talking about that. No one's taking just doing, and that's, you can't have that in the office of the presidency
or any of these offices of elected politics. I'm waiting for somebody to ask Caroline Leavitt. So Caroline, when was the last time President Trump referred to you as piggy? Don't ask a closed-ended question.
Yeah.
Ask when was the last time.
You're right.
And then get her to talk about it, because she'll get defensive and get all heated, and the cross will fire up a little bit on her neck.
Don't throw,
because she's got to tell a lie.
She never eats
it
garlic.
Never moves because there's a burn mark behind it.
Exactly. It's implanted. People think it swings around. It's on the chain. It's actually built into her chest.
Absolutely.
Listen, I've said this before. I would. There's a lot that I would sacrifice to be in that room for 30 minutes because I would light her up. Because I don't care. I don't care. I would light her up because she has been such a disgustingly rude person to so many people who don't deserve it. And but it's to your point, Rico, and Rick, you said a version of this. It is representative of the White House. It's representative of the commander-in-chief.
And what's so amazing is the first administration, we thought Spicer was bad.
Yeah. Remember?
Yeah. And again, that seems like such a long time ago. It really isn't. But Spicer, I mean, still Melissa McCarthy doing her Spicer imitations. And they were embellished, but they were still rooted in some truth. And it's like, we thought that was bad then.
Or Sarah Huckabee.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. Rick, listen, when is somebody going to call her up and send her a message and say, look, girl, you should not be wearing those boots with those dresses?
Oh, my God.
You don't want to look at my comments to the Governor Sarah Huckabee Facebook page.
Say her name 3 times like Beetlejuice. Huckabee.
What just happened? I'm wearing cowboy boots and a dress.
Yes. Oh, good old Sarah.
Man, I told the listeners before we came on the air, or when we first came on the air, I said, listen, whatever we talk about, you probably won't hear it because we'll be laughing too much. So I get to check the box of, yes, I was right there. But, listen, we have to a great extent, joke about this. Dante King, who was on before you guys came in, he said that he has really made a practice of his. He's not a religious guy, he's a spiritual dude. And he said, listen, Richard, what I've been doing is making sure I'm taking care of me. You talked about this. You talk about this. And when we're together in private, you've talked about this. You and I have talked about this, how it's important that we're taking care of ourselves. Yeah. And a lot of people think that's a bunch of hooey. But right now, the thing that I think is sustaining a lot of people, frankly, particularly now that we're in the holiday season, is that folks are doing some things to kind of take care of themselves. And it might be something viewed as a small thing, like going for a walk.
Oh, yeah.
Doing something that they haven't done before, stretching, kind of getting out of their comfort zone. But we have to do this right now. We have to laugh. We have to be willing to connect with each other in a way that says we're going to get through this. It's a bunch of BS that we're going through. But if we don't have these laughters, if we don't have these opportunities, the other side of it's pretty damn dark.
It's an interesting point that you make, Richard, because I had a conversation with somebody many years ago who said, if I don't take care of myself, how am I going to take care of others?
That part.
Okay. If I'm not mentally healthy and in a good place, I will never be able to act in a leadership role and take care of my people.
Yeah, it's cogency. You know, if you have all that stuff, all those cobwebs kind of going around in your head, and if you let everything get to you, you know, you're not worthless to others, but you can't serve or be, you know, a great brother, a great father, a great, you know, son, daughter, coworker, colleague, friend. It's really time. These are some really dark times, and you know me, I'm always about levity, and I'm always got a smile on my face and laugh and joke. But Dante was right. You know, you gotta let's get through the day.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Walk out the door. Let me make sure I get home.
Yeah. Well, you know my motto. My number one responsibility every day is to get my behind home.
Yep.
I was honored yesterday to interview retired Army General Russell Honore, who was the general that basically took control during Katrina. And what a phenomenal man. And he talked about it. I mean, this dude is grizzled. I mean, he was sitting on his front porch during our call yesterday, smoking a cigar, and I don't know what was it. I said it was coffee, but I don't know what was in his carafe. But the point I'm making is, he said, Brother Chu, right now, the most important things that we all can do is to be looking out for each other, and know what's happening on your street, know what's happening with your neighbors. And I thought about it, and I was like, coming from him, you may not expect that, but the way in which he delivered it and made it clear that that's where we have to be right now.
Yeah.
I think a lot of his military experience it comes from that, frankly, because of the man or the woman next to you in that foxhole.
Yep.
mentality.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's lived that in real time. But he's right. We have to be willing to take care of ourselves, and we have to, because the other side, y'all, listen, their game plan is to separate us. I say it all the time, and I know I probably drive some folks crazy with how often I say it, but that is what they want to do politically, socially, and economically, is to drive us apart.
Absolutely.
And you know, that we can't let that happen. So I'm glad you guys are hanging out with me this morning. Well, let's hold on before we go to a break, because Anderson's she's running this by Zoom. She's already there. Sweet. Let's take a quick break, guys. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
This is a WCPT Veteran Minute. In the midst of World War II, the 200 and 515th Coast Artillery Companies from New Mexico stood resolute against overwhelming odds. Composed largely of Hispanic soldiers, these brave men were stationed in the Philippines, where they faced the brutal onslaught of Japanese forces. Despite their lack of supplies, American and Filipino forces managed to fight the Japanese for 3 months. However, this was not a victory for the American and Filipino forces. As the American Army surrendered in Bataan, the U.S. and Filipino prisoners of war were forced into the infamous Bataan Death March. A grueling 65-mile forced trek under the scorching sun, marked by extreme deprivation and harsh treatment. Sadly, 829 men were never able to return home. New Mexico's veterans of the Bataan Death March are honored each spring with the annual White Sands Bataan Death March Marathon. People from all around the world join together in the desert at the White Sands to participate in the anniversary of one of the most tragic casualties of World War II. This has been a WCPT Veteran Minute.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Vuchitsky. We'll see mostly cloudy skies here for today, with temperatures holding rather steady. Winds out of the northwest around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Then for tonight, mostly cloudy, with temperatures falling early then slowly rising overnight. By Wednesday, a chance for some snow showers, cloudy, high of 33 degrees. And Thursday, sunshine, we'll see high around 15. Friday, partly sunny, high of 24. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 18.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
This is Choose Views with Richard Chu.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Great to be with you. It was so great to have Dante on earlier, and now I've got the two other R's hanging with me. My great friend Rick Kasprzak and my great friend Enrico Mowatt, my road dogs. Great friends, men that I love and respect, that keep me on the rails in a day-to-day way, and that's why I'm so honored to have them with us. We were laughing earlier about the fact that there's some young folks out there that are getting it done, and unapologetically. And this next person who's been with us before, is going to be with us again, is one of those people. And we all kind of embarrassingly said, gosh, she could be our daughter. But we say that with pride because,
absolutely,
without question,
Anderson Clayton is one of the leading voices in America right now. She is the chair of the North Carolina Democratic Party, and I am honored to have Anderson Clayton with us again on Choose Views. Good morning, Ms. Clayton.
Good morning. Thank y'all for having us. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Anderson, as I said when we talked last time, I really wanted to be able to do the best to highlight what you're doing in North Carolina and have you on the show as much as we can, because the work that you're doing is meaningful, obviously, to the people there in the state, also the region, but really in the country, because it's leadership like yours that's allowing people to say that we are still in the fight, that we can still get things done. And when we do that, it is going to draw more people to the fight. And you've really been able to capitalize on that. Talk about what's been happening in the last couple of months in your great state.
Yeah, North Carolina saw incredible election night wins. I know a lot of people like to talk only about New Jersey and Virginia, because I understand that was where the big wins people were looking to with our governor's elections. And we were really excited, I think, to see a clean sweep across those two. But not just it happened, or that didn't just happen, right, to me in New Jersey and Virginia. It happened in places in the South, right? It happened in places that looked like Mississippi, where we saw that Georgia had swept 2 statewide offices for the first time in like 20 26 years for that state of being able to win back like public service commission seats. And then North Carolina, we also had incredible municipal election wins. And people oftentimes, I think, ignore municipal elections because it's easy to do it. And most people couldn't tell you probably who the 5 city councilors, the 5 county commissioners who represent them actually are, what their names are, or what they're supposed to be doing. And I think that that is sort of the problem that we have right now in government, is that people don't feel like, or do not feel like, government is supposed to work for them at every single level of it. And so our party took a really hard approach this year at focusing on municipal elections and making sure that we were able to win back municipal seats in places that we hadn't had them before. So North Carolina had 1,100 municipal races on Tuesday night's election, and we had over 650 wins for the state party across the state. And
That's
then
amazing.
also 135 of those were red to blue flips in places.
135?
135. We had, Republicans that got ousted. There was a WRAL headline that came out of North Carolina that said, man, it was a bad night to be a Republican incumbent mayor in Wake County. And I was like, yeah, it was. It was indeed a bad night to be a Republican incumbent. So we were really excited about it. We had some good wins across the state.
And with my Southern lineage, I'll say, we tried to tell y'all.
Precisely.
We tried to tell y'all. They wouldn't listen, though. And so, Anderson, it's so great to hear that local work is happening like it is. I talk about this often on the show. Local, maybe like never before. Local matters more than ever before because national is impacting local, and local can have a huge impact on national and everything in between. So it's great to see that your work, specifically what you're doing, is expanding throughout the state and to the region. So let me talk about the region for a second, because there's a ton that we could talk about today. And I know that Rick and Enrico want to give you a shout out while we have you on. But what's happening with Afton Bain in Tennessee is massive. I mean, it's close. It's 2 points from the last polling.
Yes.
And God almighty, if she were to pull that off, I mean, that's really saying something. Talk a little bit about your observations there.
You know, it's funny, Afton and I, they told me when I got in this job, they said, eventually, Anderson, all of your friends are going to start running for Congress. You just don't know it yet. But that's what happens when you get into politics. And it's wild. I used to work with Afton when I was in just getting out of college. I worked for a group called ruralorganizing.org. And Afton and I were both organizers for them. And we were really passionate, honestly, about rural communities. And what I remember about Afton the most is that she was always somebody who was going to be a fighter, who beat down for rural America in some sense. And for me, that is really important when you're looking at the district that she's running in, because it is a heavily red-leaning district where I think that she is going to understand, and she has, right, to bring the polling that close, that cost of living right now is too high for people across this country. And that is an issue that people expected the president to solve, and he's not done so. And so many people, right, feel discouraged and disheartened because their grocery prices are going up. You know, Christmas is right around the corner. People just got done having a holiday meal at Thanksgiving, and some people couldn't even afford to do that in so many places across the country. And I think that Afton, to me, has been really focused on that messaging of cost affordability, and that's really resonated with people in her district in Tennessee right now, too, I think.
It definitely has, and it's also it is the message. And I think that we, as progressive liberal Democrats, wherever we land in the tent, I think that what we have to do, and I've said this since November 5th, as the momentum that we got on the 4th, we have to sustain that. We cannot get distracted from that. We cannot allow Republican talking points to take away from those wins. And now we've got other small, I hate to say small like they're less important, but in terms of just the size of the area, we have other wins that are potentially about to happen, and as in Afton's case, and we've had other little ones along the way. Incremental wins right now are so important. And you mentioned Mississippi. I've been talking about that. We had Dr. Dupre on, because he was one of the state senators that won.
Yeah.
And so you know what I'm talking about. So
because it was wild to me. Everybody kept talking about New Jersey and Virginia, and I said, yeah, that's great. Get a little bit lower below the Mason-Dixon line. I need y'all to for a second. Like, talk about the fact that, like, we had a supermajority break in Mississippi for the first time in 16 years.
16
I was like,
years.
that to me is something incredible. And it was just, honestly, it was hopeful for me as a state in the South too, where I've also got a Senate chamber, right, that has a supermajority in it from the Republicans, and I think that it's exciting to see that, you know, when people even maybe don't believe that it's possible just yet, change can happen. You know,
and it's because of the issues. I've said this for the longest time all year. I was honored to have David Jolly on earlier this year, and I reference this a lot because I believe it. And he said, Richard, we didn't lose because of our ideas not being better, our plans not being better, our goals not being better. We didn't lose because of that. Our ideas and goals and plans are better. And now we're able to juxtapose what Trump and all the GOP. I'm not giving anybody any break in the GOP right now because they got the numbers. So they should be willing to fix stuff, but they don't want to. But they got the numbers. So I'm calling them all out. But David Jolly was right on point when he said that the chasm between what they promised and what we are going to actually get done is massive. So we have to take advantage of that and make our ideas much louder. And to your point about the cost of living, just the cost of existing right now, they haven't delivered on that. And that's the number one thing they ran on. Immigration is jacked up, and they ran on that. It's coming to your state now. So let's pivot a little bit and talk about, ICE decided to get out of the cold of Chicago, which I predicted, and come. I did. I said it. I said it a month ago. I said when the weather changes, those boys are going to leave because they're not built for it. So
ICE is afraid of ice.
Yeah. The ICE is afraid of ice. So, but Anderson, talk a little bit about how you guys are navigating that tragedy of them coming to North Carolina.
I mean, ultimately, it's been hard. I think that you see it in communities across our state right now that folks are suffering and scared to go to work. We had historic businesses all throughout Charlotte because, ICE made their sort of announcement to come into Charlotte about a week and a half ago, maybe more, a little bit more so than that now. And what I think was amazing is I saw communities and organizations across the state and on the ground come together so fast and so quickly and take the lessons, honestly, that we learned from places in Portland and Chicago and use them. And organizations, Siembra, North Carolina, did incredible work across the state to be there as a Hispanic organization statewide that had a network across the state to be able to put out trainings to host them, to help with getting the information out to people and out to the community that needed to happen. And then also you had organizations like Carolina Migrant Network, the Southern Coalition for Social Justice, organizations that were built to sort of go and as people were detained, help those detainees find their family, because the hardest thing that people have had to go through after this is not being able to locate their loved ones. And I think that what we saw across North Carolina was the same thing that we saw in Chicago, right? Which is the CNN report that said less than 2% of the 600 people that they detained in Chicago were actually violent criminals.
16
no, genuinely,
out of
right?
640.
Less than 2%. I'm like,
wow.
It doesn't really seem like a good mission when you're actually trying to target the most violent of the violent, which is what this administration has said that they were going to do, right? And honestly, our Democratic governor had said, look, like if Border Patrol is here to get out the most violent of the violent, fine, like we will work with you. But there was no coordination with local law enforcement. There was no, in any form or sense of helping the elected officials in those communities understand what was happening. And those were people that were elected by the folks in those communities. And to me, you have the federal government that just trampled on that altogether. But ice melts fast in the South too, and they were gone at least as fast as a week in North Carolina, and they are coming back, I think, because they didn't get the headlines out of my state that they may have wanted. And to be honest with you, we're going to try to make sure that they don't every time that they come back here.
That's right. Rick and Rico, I know, want to chime in with you this morning. Anderson, one of you go first.
Yeah, I'll go first. Anderson, it's a pleasure to speak with you today. Thank you for all the work that you do down there. I did have a question to ask. I'm saying the North Carolina legislature or General Assembly just passed a new congressional map that is expected to favor the GOP. With all the work that you're doing, and we've talked about already, what do you see that you can do to address this issue of a remap?
Well, so the thing is, we've been working on repealing partisan and racial gerrymandering in North Carolina since I became state party chair in 2023. The hard part about that was that we sit right now, we've got 7 state Supreme Court justices in North Carolina, and we have a 5-2 minority on the state Supreme Court. And we had that when I came into the office in 2023. And part of the build back that we've been trying to do as a party in the South is look at a long-term plan for the Democratic Party. And what does it look like to build back and to actually control a lever of power in the state that also controls every other lever of power in the state? And the Republicans figured this out in 2010 in North Carolina when they took back control of the legislature. They made a big ploy or a big effort to take back the North Carolina State Supreme Court because we had Democratic control of that state Supreme Court up until the 2022 election cycle in North Carolina. And what that did was that North Carolina in 2022 sent 7 members of Congress that were Democrats and 7 members of Congress that were Republicans on behalf of our 14 members altogether. And what happened after that was that we lost control of the state Supreme Court. And the biggest thing that we saw was Republicans. And if I've got any lawyers listening to this right now, y'all know what I'm about to say, but they did something that no court has done within a 200-year history of the North Carolina State Supreme Court or of a court in general. They ignored stare decisis, and they went back and overturned a previous court decision that a case had not been brought before them for it. And so basically just ignored the will of the previous court and said, actually, we're going to re-legitimize and re-legalize partisan and racial gerrymandering in North Carolina. And so what we just saw this last week or the last couple of weeks in the state was Republicans in our state legislature taking one more congressional seat after they had already gerrymandered North Carolina in 2023 at the beginning of it, and took us from the 7-7 split that we had in 2022 and made it a 10-4 split in 2023. Took us then to a 11-3 split now that they are hoping to get in the 2026 election frame. Congressman Don Davis is still going to run in that CD1 district that we've got in northeastern North Carolina, though. And I'll be honest with y'all, Don Davis has won an R+3 district every time they put him in one. And yes, they just made it an R+11. So it's going to be a really hard district for him to win this year. But Donald Trump, to me, it's like Don Davis can also go up there and say, I have voted with this president almost 90% of the time that I've been in Congress. Like, you cannot say that he is not a representative that is not voted for his district and on behalf of his district. And I think that we are going to run a very aggressive campaign to be able to compete in northeastern North Carolina, to be able to say that over and over and over again to all types of voters in that district. And Don Davis, to me, is the one to be able to do that. But the plan is to take back the North Carolina State Supreme Court. And we're going to do that by electing Justice Anita Earls, keeping her. She's our Democratic justice who's going to be up in 2026. We held Justice Allison Riggs' seat last year, 734 votes, thanks to, I'm hoping, some of the people that are listening to this right now, to be honest with y'all. And then in 2028, we have 3 Republican seats up on the North Carolina State Supreme Court that we can take back, and we can end partisan and racial gerrymandering for good. So that was probably a lot more of a story than you asked for.
No, it's not.
No context.
Not at all.
Well,
no, Anderson, thank you for that. And I know Rico's going to have a couple things to say. We're going to do a little bit of organization here. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from where? Warren County, North Carolina.
Yeah.
I'm Richard Chu, and we are talking with the big lady swinger of the North Carolina Democratic Party, also known as Anderson Clayton. Thank you for being with us this morning. It's great that you went into depth, because that's where we need to be. Rico was talking about this earlier, about we've lost our way to talk about things that are important in a meaningful, cogent way. Rico.
Yeah, and Anderson, a huge fan, and more importantly, the work that you're doing isn't just commendable, it's phenomenal. I've got a son that's going to turn 21 this year. he's got some work to do. When I see the impact that you're having.
Send him on down to a state party. We'll put him to work.
You know what? And he's a dual major of poli-sci and econ. So I might be sending him down to you.
Sounds like he belongs in a state party.
he should be. But again, the one thing that I love is not just your Instagram handle of Andy Breeze, but the fact that you're out there on the street. You're out there talking to people. You're out there, again, celebrating and promoting, democracy. What are you hearing? What's the tenor of the constituents of North Carolina when you go out and have these conversations? When, again, the B-roll, what are they saying when they're not on camera, when you don't have the footage? And how are they feeling in terms of getting up off the couch, which I think is some of your words from your posts, I think like 11/19, in terms of why things didn't work out the way they did this last election, because people didn't get off the couch.
Yeah, I mean, I to be honest with y'all, I still think people are tired of hearing about politics. I think that the saturation that Donald Trump does is really, really effective, that this administration has on people to make folks feel exhausted and fed up and just like they want to turn it off. It's honestly why I think we have such a hard time reaching people with politics at this moment. And it's one of the things where we're having to come to a place to get creative, right, about how we reach people, because folks are self-selecting their media that they view every day. And so it's becoming a sort of where you get your news from is dependent on what your interests are and who you talk to on an everyday basis. And I think that we have got to adapt a campaign mentality to speaking to people like that. Somebody looked at me the other day and they said, I thought if it was going to be important, I'd get a notification of it on my phone. And I was like, no, that doesn't happen all the time. But it was kind of interesting to me, right, to be able to hear somebody say that and then realize, like, yeah, the most important things that you would happen or that happen in the world, you get a notification of. Like, if there's someone that has stolen a child, if there's an Amber Alert around you somewhere, you get a notification on your phone. If there's a big world incident that happens and you have, news notifications turned on your phone, you'll get a notification about it. And I think it's like, well, how do you adapt to the mindset that people that we're in right now versus where we think that people are?
Yeah.
And so for me, it's been really important, I think, to your point, to talk to people on the ground, to understand, like, I'm trying to build an app for the NCDP now because I think it would be awesome for us to have something that folks can download and they can get notifications on their phone, because we've got to be able, I think, to come into a 21st century with campaigns. And, the Democratic Party is still a little bit behind when it comes to that, in my opinion.
You know what, Anderson? That is a brilliant take. And this is something that I've said many times with Richard about the notion of civic engagement. And what's happening is people are now recipients as opposed to being participants. And being recipiency is just waiting for, the algorithm to feed you whatever it is you want to be fed, versus seeking out information and being a participant, taking, being grassroots, going out, going to rallies, understanding what's what, using these phones that we have that are, mini computers instead of looking at cat videos or stuff like that.
Cat videos are fun.
Cat videos are
Cats
great.
got something to say.
Or memes about Huckabee. but it's important to use it to get information, to find out from a local level how your representatives have voted on certain issues and what those issues mean to you locally and stuff like that. So that's a brilliant point, and I hope you continue to shout and amplify that, because I think recipiency versus participancy is radically, it's different, and that's what's plaguing a lot of people today.
My thing on that too.
Well, I'm going to feel that way of framing that.
Go ahead, yeah.
No, I'm sorry.
I am.
Well, you got to run with that, because it's a great idea and it'll be a great tool. And it says something that a couple things went through my mind when you were describing that. One, it says that you're listening to what the people in the community are asking for, or even if they don't know they're asking for it, which is, I want to receive stuff. I want to get notifications. Okay, well then let's create something that will get them to participate by us sending them something. And if that's what it's going to take, then that's what we do, which means, one, you're listening and you're trying to find a way to react and respond to that. Secondly, it also, to the point about the Democratic Party being a little bit, behind, a little bit, where we could be or maybe should be, it creates opportunities for us to take action and to do the thing to bring people in. So I see it as a plus. The three of us are plus guys. We are always looking at the glass half full, and how can we make it close to full? And that to what you're doing is so it's exciting to hear, because it's saying that the intersection of the previous or the old can nicely fit with the intersection of the new or the newer. If we stop and sit down and look at this as a business, come up with a business plan and strategy to then implement it in our politics. Does that make any sense, Anderson?
No, it does. And I think that's where a lot of people have honestly made the mistake in the past in this job, is that sometimes we don't look at a political party as though it's a business or an organization. And I'm like, well, it is. And honestly, organizations and businesses are only as good as the people that make them up. And so when y'all were so kindly giving me my flowers earlier on here, I'm like, my staff deserve all the flowers, because they are the ones making the magic happen behind the scenes, and the ones that do for me and at least make this job possible for me. And we have got 25 full-time people at the NCDP now, and that includes having a year-round organizing team that has been out there in communities knocking on doors throughout this year. The wins that we had for municipal elections would not have happened had we not had organizers and paid staff across the state that knocked 250,000 doors and made 250,000 phone calls this year alone, in what people would consider an off year, right, for a state party.
Yep.
And typically in a year like that, you only have about 7 to 8 people that work at a state party full time. And North Carolina has been the 3rd largest state party in the country this year. I want us to be number 1 next year, though. So I keep telling people, go to ncdp.org or ncdp.org and help us out to be able to do that. But we want to be the best, and I think that that's what North Carolina deserves. Nothing but the best, I
got to tell you, and I'll let the cat out of the bag. When we first had you on, and I said to you then, I said, Anderson, you're killing it, and we want to be a part of what you're doing. And I made this commitment to everybody that I've been able to have on my show and been honored to have on, whether they be a politico or a business person or organizational leader, that local's important, and we've got to take back local. We take back local and keep building on that. We will take back this country that we all love, but we hate what it's doing right now. So to that end, guys, Anderson's going to be hanging with us on a monthly basis, and I'm really proud of that, because when I talk about merging the old, or the old heads with the young heads, this is how we're going to do it. We do it literally by having a voice like yours be a part of what we're doing, so that we can be a tool for you to amplify those goals that you just talked about. So I'm truly excited about the fact that we're going to be able to do it. And I know my 2 old heads sitting next to me kind of feel the same way.
Excuse me? Old? I'm the young man at the table.
Okay, well, I'm in the middle. I'm the middle child here. Rick's a year older than me. I'm the middle child, so I got to be the one that brings us all together.
Oh, yeah. I like what you said earlier. You were like, we're the glass half full guys. I was like, oh, so they're the PVO people. I get it. Positive vibes only.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Without question.
That's right. Anderson, as we wrap up, one of the things that our previous guest, Dante King, said, and I want to ask you this question. What are you doing to take care of Anderson? Make sure that Anderson's running right and got your oars in the water the right way.
Oh, Lord. I'll be honest with y'all. I just got told this week, they said that, or my executive director told us that we had succeeded in raising our operational budget this year. And my moment of personal pride was being able to say that. And so my brain is slowly like tuning out for the month or for the year of 2025. I feel like I'm going into like a slow hibernation period. So I'm gonna sleep a lot the last month of December, because I've been really worried this entire year. It's been hard. It's been crazy. I think if you're somebody out there who runs a small business, you know what I'm talking about when you think that payroll comes up every month and you're having to think about it constantly. And so I feel for my small business owners out there, and I appreciate all the work that you all do to contribute to our economic basis, because I think that small businesses like power our state and power our country. And from running a state party, I've sort of seen what it looks like to run a small business in the state, and it's been really hard and really interesting, and just one of those moments where I'm just grateful. So I'm taking care of me by being grateful this year, and by getting some sleep over the holidays. I'm excited.
Good for you.
Good for you. Well, I know the guys will want to send their quick thank yous to you as we wrap up.
Yeah, Anderson, like I said, when I first spoke, that it's really an honor to have this opportunity to speak to you directly. So thank you for everything you're doing.
Also, again, continue to be a beacon for your generation. and also democracy. It's amazing to see, and you give me someone to pass along to my son to look up to, and that's awesome.
Anderson, thanks for being with us. Go get some sleep, girl. We'll talk to you soon. All right, bye-bye. All right, guys, stay tuned for the Stephanie Miller Show, and remember, take a deep breath and make your life count. We'll see you tomorrow.
Hey Chicago, Joe Fontana here, founder of Fry the Coop. At Fry the Coop, we serve the best chicken sandwiches in the world. And no, that's not an opinion, that's a fact my taste buds personally signed off on. At Fry the Coop, we hand bread every single piece of chicken, double fry it in 100% beef tallow, and we hit it with our secret Fry the Coop spice rub like it owes us money. The result? A Fry the Coop sandwich so crunchy, juicy, spicy, sweet, salty, and savory, it feels illegal. Fry the Coop has a one-of-a-kind sandwich that makes your taste buds high-five each other. Don't like it? No problem. We guarantee happiness or your money back. But don't worry, you're not going to need it. We now have 10 Fry the Coop locations around the Chicagoland area. So no matter where you're at, there's a good chance there's a Fry the Coop 15 minutes away. And we're a local Chicago company, born and bred, for the people, by the people. So come down and support your local boys and get the best chicken sandwich in the world. Right here in Chicago, right here at Fry the Coop.
Still struggling with gas, bloat, constipation, nausea, or diarrhea? Have you tried eliminating foods but felt no change? It's time to call the tummy whisperer, Renee Barish, at Digestive Health Solutions. Renee uses targeted testing to reveal exactly what's happening in your gut. Gut bacteria plays a key role in all your body functions, from cardiovascular regulation to brain function. When the gut is imbalanced, you may experience symptoms that extend beyond the gut, such as anxiety, skin issues, poor sleep, or